Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. I'm Utsaf Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. We begin with the top updates from the Israel-Hamas war. The conflict has entered its 24th day. Clouds of smoke covered the sky over Gaza as the Israeli military continues to intensify operations against Hamas. Tel Aviv says its fighter jets have struck hundreds of Hamas targets. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared the second phase of the war. The Gaza Health Ministry says the death toll has risen to above 8,000. This includes over 3,000 children and 2,000 women. The Israeli Defense Forces released footage of their latest operation against Hamas. The IDF are expanding ground operations in Gaza. This is while fighter jets continue to strike Hamas targets. The IDF said it struck over 450 Hamas military targets in the Gaza Strip. This includes operational command centers, observation posts, and anti-tank missile launch posts. The Israeli military said it's now urgently calling on Palestinians in Gaza to move to the south. The IDF says it asked residents of North Gaza to move away from the main focus of the war against Hamas. An Israeli army spokesperson added that the number of people confirmed to be held hostage in Gaza has risen to 239. Hamas's military wing released a video. It allegedly shows a rocket attack on an Israeli armored vehicle at the Gaza border. The video purportedly shows a convoy of Israeli armored vehicles driving down the road and a vehicle being hit by a rocket following a fireball and a thick cloud of smoke. Meanwhile, the Israeli military says it also carried out strikes on military infrastructure in Syria. The Israeli Defense Forces say they were responding to launches from Syria towards Israeli territory. Concerns of a wider conflict in West Asia have risen in recent days. The US is dispatching more military assets to the region. US President Joe Biden called Israel's PM Netanyahu to discuss the ongoing developments in Gaza. The White House stated that Biden reaffirmed Israel's right to protect its citizens, but emphasized on the need to locate and secure the release of hostages. Biden also stressed on the need to enhance the delivery of humanitarian aid in Gaza. Another 33 trucks carrying humanitarian aid and essential supplies were allowed to pass into Gaza from Egypt. This is the largest convoy of aid to cross into Gaza since the beginning of Israel's war against Hamas. But humanitarian workers say that it still falls short of what Gaza needs. According to UN officials, the trucks contained beds, food, medicinal and hygiene supplies. Around 170 trucks have made it across the Egypt-Gaza Rafah crossing since the war began. Meanwhile, thousands of Gaza residents broke into the warehouses and distribution centers of the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency. They were seen grabbing flour and other basic survival items. Gaza residents were seen carrying boxes and bags of food aid outside the warehouses. The UN agency says its ability to help people in Gaza has been completely stretched. It says Israeli airstrikes have killed over 50 of its staff. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators stormed an airport runway in southern Russia. This was in Russia's southern Dagestan region. The protesters were reportedly trying to get to passengers arriving on a flight from Tel Aviv. The protesters allegedly chanted anti-Semitic slogans and denounced Israeli actions in Gaza. Russian authorities said all aircraft bound for the airport were diverted. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Toronto in Canada. They gathered outside the US Consulate General and demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. They also called for an end to American and Canadian funding of what they called Israel's genocide. In other news, top Russian and Chinese military officials seem to be taking swipes at the US. They said that foreign forces were seeking to sow turmoil in Asia and beyond. They said this as they opened an international defense conference in Beijing. Over 90 countries are attending the defense forum in China. A US federal judge has reinstated a gag order against former President Donald Trump. The gag order limits Donald Trump's public statements regarding the upcoming federal trial against him. The trial is over his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 US presidential election. Trump is appealing the gag order. He also faces another gag order in a civil case in New York. A fight between two groups of people turned deadly in the U.S. state of Florida. A shooting during Halloween festivities resulted in the death of 2 people and left 18 hospitalized. At least 2 shooters opened fire at the scene. 1 suspect is in custody and a hunt is on for at least 1 more person. Police have not released the names of the people killed. A 14-year-old is among the victims. Police are still investigating the reason for the fight between the 2 groups. In another shooting incident in the U.S., at least 4 people were shot near Georgia State University's Atlanta campus. Authorities say 3 of the victims were in stable condition and 1 was critical. They did not reveal whether they had arrested anyone or identified any suspects. Georgia University officials pledged to increase patrols in the area and work with the police to secure the campus. The U.S. has stopped issuing export licenses for most civilian firearms and ammunition for 90 days. This is for all non-governmental exporters. The U.S. Commerce Department cited national security and foreign policy interests as the reason for its decision. It added that it would assess the risks of firearms being diverted to entities or activities that promote regional instability, violate human rights, or fuel criminal activities. French President Emmanuel Macron has promised to enshrine a woman's right to abortion in the French constitution by next year. Macron said his government would submit a draft text at France's highest administrative court over the coming week. The move comes after a rise in abortion restrictions in other countries recently. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said Berlin was willing to invest in gas and critical minerals in Nigeria. Nigeria is Africa's largest oil producer. The German Chancellor is on a 2-nation visit to West Africa. He will visit Ghana after Nigeria. This is Scholz's 3rd visit to the region in 2 years, highlighting West Africa's growing importance. A free trade deal between the European Union and Australia has collapsed despite early optimism. Canberra says it could take years until negotiations resume. The talks had been ongoing since 2018. They were stuck over market access for Australian animal products such as beef. Australia said EU negotiators had refused to budge during the latest round of talks. Turkey marked the 100th anniversary of the formation of the Turkish Republic with a massive military parade. Hundreds of troops, tanks and other vehicles marched down an avenue in Istanbul. A procession of military ships also sailed through the Bosphorus Strait, followed by a drone and fireworks show. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan also paid tribute to modern Turkey's founder Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. At least 13 people died and 40 were injured in a rail accident in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh. A passenger train overshot a signal and hit another train from behind. India's railway ministry said that a preliminary investigation found that human error had led to the collision. In climate news, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is on a visit to Nepal's capital, Kathmandu. Guterres says that Nepal's glaciers are melting at a record rate. He calls Nepal's climate situation dire and accelerating. Antonio Guterres is on a 4-day visit to Nepal. Farmers in the U.S. states of Colorado and New Mexico had a hard time harvesting pumpkins this year. They relied on dwindling groundwater for irrigation amid an ongoing drought. Pumpkins are a big part of the American festival of Halloween. The drought has affected both the harvest of pumpkins and small gourds in the U.S. Residents of the Mexican city of Acapulco are struggling to get drinking water. This is after Hurricane Otis hit the region 4 days ago. Acapulco residents have also criticized the Mexican government for their lack of help. Heavy industries in France are taking steps to catch up with the pollution they cause. A technology called CryoCap has been developed to cool down gases and turn them into liquids. The Dunkirk region in France generates the most carbon dioxide in the country. Industries there now plan to have mini factories to capture the carbon emissions. The debate over carbon credits will be heard again in the UN's climate talks next month. Corporations buy carbon credits to offset the cost of their pollution and appear carbon neutral. Several scientific studies are questioning the carbon credit system. The 28th annual United Nations climate meeting, called COP28, will be held in Dubai next month. Now on to business and tech news. A hearing to wind up the operations of Chinese property developer Evergrande has been adjourned till December the 4th. The judge has ordered the firm to come up with a revised restructuring proposal before that date. Evergrande had been working on an offshore debt restructuring plan. However, it was thrown off course last month. This was after its founder was put under investigation for suspected criminal activities. Reports say America's United Auto Workers Union has reached a tentative labor deal with Stellantis. It includes a 25% wage hike over a 4.5-year contract. Meanwhile, the union leaders have also approved a tentative deal with Ford. This includes a pay hike of at least 30% for full-time workers. The UAW has been striking against the Detroit 3 automaker since September 15th. The Detroit 3 automakers include Ford, General Motors and Stellantis. Canadian Workers' Union Unifor has said that more than 8,000 of its members will strike against automaker Stellantis. This comes after the company was unable to reach a tentative agreement before the Sunday deadline. Unifor is asking for a better labor deal that includes higher wages and pensions. Australia's Qantas Airways has filed a defence against a lawsuit brought by the country's competition regulator. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission sued the carrier in August. It accused the airline of continuing the sale of tickets for flights that were already cancelled. In its defence, Qantas argued that the impacted travellers were put on other flights or reimbursed. German automaker Volkswagen will reportedly cut 2,000 jobs from its software unit, Cariad. The job cuts will take place from 2024 until the end of 2025. This will further delay the launch of its long-awaited new software architectures for Ford and Audi models. Private equity investor Aurelius Group is reportedly in talks to buy beauty chain The Body Shop. This is after the parent company Natura put it up for sale in August this year. If completed, the deal is expected to value the Body Shop at less than $400 million. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google and its parent company Alphabet, will testify today. This is in Google's antitrust fight over its dominance in the search engine market. The US government has accused the company of illegally paying about $10 billion annually to companies like Apple and AT&T. This is to remain the default search engine on their devices. Meanwhile, a report says that Google paid $26.3 billion to several companies in 2021. This is to ensure that its search engine was the default on web browsers and mobile phones. According to the report, the amount of payments Google made for the default status has more than tripled since 2014. Social media platform X has rolled out 2 new subscription plans. The first is a Premium Plus tier, which is priced at about $16 per month. This is an ad-free subscription that includes all the tools and features offered by X. The second is a basic tier priced at $3 per month, but it's not ad-free. Meanwhile, Elon Musk has brought a new change to the revenue-sharing system on X. He has said that posts corrected by Community Notes will not be eligible for the program. Community Notes is a crowdsourced fact-checking feature. This is to fight misinformation on the platform. Musk said, and I quote, "The idea is to maximize the incentive for accuracy over sensationalism." Moving on to sports. The ICC Cricket World Cup, India beat defending champions England by 100 runs at Lucknow's Ekana Stadium yesterday. India have picked up their 6th consecutive win in the World Cup. India's bowlers battered England in a brilliant display. India restricted England to just 229 runs in 50 overs. An out-of-form England batting lineup disintegrated under the pressure built by India's pace attack. 2 of India's bowlers turned the new white ball into a weapon of destruction on the pitch. The 2 were Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah. Shami took 4 wickets for 22 and Bumrah bagged 3 for 34. We'll stay with Mohammad Shami for a bit longer. The pacer produced arguably the best spell of the tournament by any bowler so far. England were 2 wickets down when Ben Stokes came to the crease. Shami had Ben Stokes in his sights for most of his opening 2 overs. All 10 deliveries that the England legend faced were against Shami, and Stokes finally succumbed to a 10-ball duck after a spellbinding battle. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma's excellent 87 was the key performance with the bat. He held India's innings together as wickets fell around him. Sharma took an aggressive turn after reaching his half-century. He hit 4 fours and a 6 in the next 20 balls. The Indian captain got close to a century before being expertly caught in the deep by Liam Livingstone. In football news, Manchester City painted the town blue with a 3-0 win against a demoralised United on Derby Day. The match was at United's home ground, Old Trafford. Erling Haaland scored a penalty in the 26th minute. He doubled his tally just as the second half began. Phil Foden tapped home a third late in the match to seal a comfortable win for City. In tennis, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka moved closer to securing the year-end top world ranking. She dominated Greece's Maria Sakkari in the group stage opener at the WTA finals. The 25-year-old Belarusian beat Sakkari 6-0, 6-1. Red Bull's Max Verstappen has claimed victory at the Mexican Grand Prix. This is Verstappen's 16th triumph of the season. He started from 3rd on the grid and proceeded to dominate the race. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari's Charles Leclerc finished the podium. Meanwhile, Verstappen's Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez had a race to forget. He said his first corner crash turned his home Mexican Grand Prix into the saddest experience of his career. Perez bounced off into a runoff area and limped to the pits and retired. Stephen Curry's 4 three-pointers down the stretch, along with Klay Thompson's 19 points, led the Golden State Warriors to a 106-95 win over the Houston Rockets. The Warriors led by as many as 16 before the Rockets began chipping away at the lead. They went on top by 2 with a basket by Jalen Green midway through the 4th quarter, and that's when Curry took over with his threes. Defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets showed the young Oklahoma City Thunder just how much work they have ahead. Nikola Jokic had 28 points and 14 rebounds to help the Nuggets roll past the Thunder 128-95 for their 3rd straight win to top the season. Michael Porter Jr. had 20 points and 9 rebounds, and Jamal Murray added 19 points and 8 assists for the Nuggets, who shot 60.2% from the field. In entertainment news, the negotiation meetings between Hollywood Actors Union and studios continue. Both the parties worked throughout the weekend aiming to reach a deal. Reports have revealed that the talks are going productively. They are scheduled to have a meeting later today as well. The Hollywood actors have been on strike since July this year. Matthew Perry, famous for playing Chandler Bing in the American sitcom Friends, passed away on Saturday. The 54-year-old actor allegedly drowned in his bathtub in Los Angeles. His family says they are heartbroken by the tragic loss of their beloved son and brother. Perry's family also said that he brought a lot of joy as an actor and a friend. American rapper Megan Thee Stallion is gearing up to release a single. This comes a week after she settled her years-long lawsuit with her previous label. This will be her first single from her independent label. Stallion's own label is called Hot Girls Production, and her single will be called Cobra. The release date has been slated as the 3rd of November. Singer Taylor Swift became the most streamed artist in a single day after the release of her album 1989. This is according to the music streaming platform Spotify. Swift has made the record of Spotify's most streamed album in a single day. With this, she breaks her own record that she made with her album Midnight in 2021. Singer Britney Spears took to social media to announce that Volume 2 of her memoir is in the works. She deleted the post later, which left her fans confused. Spears also claimed it to be the highest-selling celebrity memoir in history. The pop star's memoir, The Woman in Me, released a few days ago. Her first memoir centers around her life before and after her conservatorship. That's all the news for today. Thank you for watching Fast and Factual. Stay tuned to First Post.